put a very tiny 6-point type RoboHead code on every marketing material, and that's right beside the legal. And so
time for another Behind the Process, where we at RoboHead talk with in-house creative and marketing leaders. I'm Will Goad with the RoboHead team, and with me today is Rye Asuro, the Creative Operations Resource Manager with Aviva Canada. They're a large property and casualty insurance provider based out of Toronto. Thanks a lot for joining us, Rye. What else should we know about you before we get started?
I guess I've been doing this for a really long time in marketing and advertising for over 25 plus years. So I've seen a lot of processes and creative ways of working, and then more importantly, I've seen like a lot of systems being used. So coming to Aviva for the last 2 years, this was the first time that I've been introduced to the RoboHead application.
Awesome. And when you say systems being used, so you're talking about project management, obviously also creative tools. Any other systems or parts of the tech stack that you think would be interesting that you've kind of worked with?
Yeah. From an operational point of view, like I've played around with organizations have used Salesforce, have used Monday.com. We've obviously used Microsoft Project once upon a day, and then so everything in between, down to like even like old school Excel files.
Awesome. And for those that are watching, if you're new to Behind the Process, our goal is really to learn from our guests and their stories and kind of experiences with their team. So challenges they face, successes they've had. So as we kind of, as now that we know a little bit more about you, Rye, I want to just kind of jump right in and say, are there any kind of big or significant challenges or opportunities that you and your team have faced recently when it comes to really managing the creative work that your studio is doing and kind of taking on a daily basis?
Yeah, you know what? I think if anything, technology and the ability to do things quicker, better, faster is always something that draws attention. The reality is that every year there's a newer software, every year there's a newer thing to take a look at, and every year there's something else that we need to be on top of to stay relevant or to make things better. The issue, and as exciting as that is, because I love new shiny toys, as exciting as that all is, there is the fundamental behavior part of your team in the way they work, and the expectations of the other departments who are implementing these new tools. And then it's the understanding of how do I keep my team efficient in its working style, but not trip over themselves because there's a brand new tool to use, or there's a brand new something to that's new and shiny. So the biggest challenge is really, again, the work itself. Like for us creatively, a project will always, it's a brochure. That brochure is the same brochure that it will be next year and has been in the past 5 years, but the way of executing that brochure differs because of the different tools.
Gotcha.
But what I have to really remember is like who's designer executing that tool, and how experienced are they with new tools versus no, I just want to work this certain way. Gotcha. So there's a lot of understanding my individual team members and their skill sets and their willingness to change over to new things. And then there's the balance of executing things on it might be a, quote unquote old school way, but it's a correct way that doesn't mess up the process.
It works. And sometimes we need to do what works. The shiny thing is not helping us here. So focus on
Well, absolutely. If it works, it works. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And if we're flowing in a great space, that's great. It doesn't need to be moving 100 miles an hour all the time. I'm okay to plan it out properly, use the right tools at the right time, and then, more importantly, use the right resources or the right people at the right time to execute something.
So kind of from a challenge perspective, and not necessarily a challenge with the brochure, but operationally, what you're dealing with is how do we do all these different types of work that we're doing, whether it's digital, web, print, whatever. How do we take advantage of these new maybe creative tools or project management tools or whatever in the tech stack that's new and shiny? How do we take advantage of that and get the data we need or the efficiency we need? But how do we also not choke on it so that over here we're using the tools now hindering us as opposed to helping us move forward faster with better data, right?
Yeah, and I think a key component of that dance is just having all the right data in one spot, so that we're able to analyze on a weekly basis on what projects are live, what projects are coming in, and so um, RoboHead literally is an hour to hour. Like my team is literally on it hour to hour because that's where we get our all of our instructions for what the team is supposed to do is in one spot.
Gotcha.
And whenever somebody needs to go look up history of things, it's not looking through Outlook and searching through email threads. It's where's your RoboHead number? And then that's where it is. And I think where we really shine is that somebody will say, hey, do you remember that brochure from 3 years ago? And I'm like, no, because one, I wasn't
Exactly.
here.
Yeah.
And two, that person or that designer isn't here and I'm new. So help me out. And what our team does is we put a very tiny 6-point type RoboHead code on every marketing material, and that's right beside the legal. And so when we look at it, you can see the secret number. The secret number is there, and then I can unarchive something from 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or whatever, and I'm like, oh great, here it is. So it really shows that the system works as long as everybody stays with the same, um, you know, if all the information goes in the right place at the right time, it doesn't matter if it's 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years from now, it's there.
That's like a perfect example of like forcing a system to work for you, but not hinder you. So
Yeah.
you're not telling your customers to go into RoboHead
No,
and dig
no.
around. You're not asking your designers to go into RoboHead and dig
Yeah.
around, or it could be a DAM or any other any
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
tool that you're using. But you're not expecting. It's not just like it's there and we got to go find it.
No.
You're making it super easy. Like, hey, if you can show me that brochure, I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
quickly know what I need, go get it, and get you what you
Yes.
need. I don't have to
Yeah.
ask you 20 questions. I don't have to go dig around.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good example because, frankly, that number, like they're not
Yeah.
even necessarily touching the system. They don't have to log in, they
No.
don't have to look. They just need to
No.
get you the thing that they're referencing,
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah.
good. You can go get them the
Yeah.
specs, the audit trail, whatever you need, right? Is that
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. That code is obviously that code is a unique code, right?
yeah, that's the
It's
lifeline to the project, right?
and so regardless if it was a brochure in 20 different languages or if it went national or province for province, that code is the key to everything. So as long as that code is there, I can find you all of the working files. I can find you I can do the full trail of, well, who signed off on it and actually how much do we pay for it, and it's all because of that code. And so the funny thing is when new people do start on our organization and they're like, oh, this code doesn't mean anything to me, I have to show them the history behind it and the why, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
a lot of times, well, as you know, onboarding is like drinking from a fire hose, right? And
Yeah.
so people are like, why are you telling me all these things that I don't think are important? But they don't understand that that data point is such a lifeline in terms of everything that is
Yeah.
historic with that. So the RoboHead number is ultra important.
That's super cool because I mean, not only for the new person but the old person. Like to me, like I come from a training background, and we don't want people getting wrapped around the axle on things that don't matter.
Yeah, yeah,
And so for some of those people, like the ticket, the workflow, the schedule, the audit trail, none of that stuff matters. What
yeah,
matters is the
no,
brochure. And so if you could just get me the brochure with the number, I'm good. We got you from there. That's
yeah,
really cool. And it unlocks it's like this is the door that we have to go in, and we may go into it every week, we may go into it every 5 years,
yeah.
but we've got the key to get in the door whenever the time comes, and we don't have to fumble for it.
Mm-hmm.
When you so as you talk about like onboarding, and I assume also, as I would imagine that you're doing, you're not just doing one brochure, you're in Canada, so I know you're definitely doing like a French translation
Oh
probably.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
so is there's any challenge recently that you've dealt with, either related to the creative work or just to the process or the tools, that maybe you've approached recently that you've kind of had to kind of navigate? Maybe it's even the onboarding process. Anything recent that you guys have kind of run through?
Uh, I mean, it's funny because it's not necessarily like new
Yeah.
issues. I mean, the reality is these issues are always fundamentally always the same. It's just a different project that it's around. And I think the biggest issue is um, there's such a complexity to a lot of our projects, whether it's specs of the actual printed piece, or whether it's legal, or whether it's just like 101 things on a checklist.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge is we under communicate. There's always this assumption that, oh yeah, you worked on this brochure last week, you should exactly know what I'm talking about. And it's like, I have 10 brochures that we're working on.
I've been putting up 50 artboards in InDesign in the last. Yeah.
And I think fundamentally, because there's no tool that's going to fix this, is that I can Teams message somebody, I can email them, I can Skype them, I can do all of these things.
Yeah.
But that clear communication and understanding and saying, hey, do you really understand that it's brochure 1, 2, 3, and I just need change ABC, and then I need it by end of day? That simplicity of being able to break it down so that somebody isn't spinning, and then is able to give me what I need when I need it, regardless of how many tools we have in the communication. That's the thing that needs to be fixed the most, is how to clearly communicate to each other. But where we get caught was we're time starved. I mean, I'm in back-to-back meetings, and so is everybody else. And then it becomes like, oh, I guess I should have really spoke to that designer and told them, yeah, it's just color A versus B. It's just
exactly. Yeah. And we just went back and forth on it because email and chat is so much faster, right?
Yep. And
it's like, maybe I should have called. So
maybe exactly.
Yeah,
maybe
right. Let's have a teams meeting right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think if anything that it's not a new challenge, but that clear communication on the simple things, it's very sad, not sad. Like, the reality is, a lot of my stakeholders will make the assumption that my team knows every single project that they're working on, and that their request is the biggest request amongst the 50 other requests. And it really becomes, and I describe it as we're basically firefighters. Look, wherever the hottest fire is, okay, that's where we're pushing our resources, and that's the one we have to get out. If somebody comes along and says my fire is bigger, well, I guess we're going to move over. And that's that sense of prioritization, but prioritization needs to come from somebody else. It can't necessarily come from my department, because there are competing priorities that are coming to us at the same time.
And so helping them get you the information you need so you can figure out what the priority is. I'm guilty of this, but I think the thing that you probably also deal with is, like, it's not just that they don't realize those other 50 things you're working on are important. It's that they may have you working on other stuff for them, and they've, while they expect you to know everything and where it's all at, they've forgotten that, like, oh yeah, there's 4 other things for me that they're working on. And so I'm bumping my own stuff by creating this fire, by fanning the flame over on this particular project. And so it is interesting how, as humans, we sometimes will forget, we'll forget that maybe we don't remember as many of the details that we expect everyone else to know and keep in mind. I think you've already answered this, but maybe if you pack it differently. But when you think about, like, someone who's helping manage, like, you're obviously helping deploy your team on the right stuff at the right time. Do you have any advice for folks in your space? I think that unique identifier is one good example. Any other advice that you have for folks in a similar role that are trying to improve how efficient their team is, or that they're getting them deployed in the best way possible on the right type of work? Any secrets or learnings that you found through the challenges?
I think the biggest learning that I have, and as much as everybody hates meetings, like, because meetings are a total time suck, right? Definitely. But I think it's the structure of the meeting. If we can, and so what I really try to get to my team to do, and what I do is always set a very specific agenda. Look, we have half an hour. These are the 5 main questions that I need to action, and then as long as we can hit those 5 things, then we're on track. And so I think, if anything, it's clear communication, the ability to make give clean direction right away, as opposed to, well, let's get back to that. The problem with the let's get back to that is, like, when? Like, tomorrow, next week? And so I think people don't like meetings because a lot of it is a waste of time. But I think if you structure your meeting to say, this is what I need to get out of it, and you have from the top, like one, if I send out a meeting request, my agenda is there. Two, if I have time, sometimes in Teams, I'll do a Teams chat to that meeting, and I'll say, hey, everyone, just to reemphasize when we meet at 1 o'clock, we're going to talk about ABC. And then when I open up the meeting and I said, hey, I know everybody's busy, we're going to talk about ABC. So let's just hit that right away. So we hit ABC. And if we turns out that they are just clean yes, no directions, and then we're great. Then I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah,
we can go. Right. And then the whole, not that, then there's the messaging or the note-taking recap, because people have a tendency to forget that, well, we made a decision and here is the recap to say the decision that we made, and now we're moving forward. Yeah. So I think the advice is you got to be clear on your focus and intention on that meeting. You got to write it down, and then you got to recap what we decided on, and then we move forward.
That's really cool. When you said like talk about the right stuff earlier, you said like the meeting needs to be focused on the right things. One thing that like hit me is that we all say meetings are, meetings are horrible, and many of them are. Like I don't like internal meetings. Personally, I like talking with customers. I don't like internal meetings. But I think what's interesting and I'll use RoboHead as an example since that's what you guys use. But like on the ticket, for example, maybe we're going to have a kickoff call on this thing, or we're going to have a status call, or we're going to have a scoping call or something. But if I can get enough information from you on the front end, or maybe you're thinking like, if you can provide me the things that we know that we need, like, do we have an idea of what we're trying to accomplish? Do we know who the audience is? Do we know what the format is, or at least have a suggestion? Like if we've got that stuff, we're coming to that meeting with that information. And so now that meeting is going to unlock, it's going to unlock more. It's a better conversation because I'm not asking you, well, how many copies do you need? Is that, are we printing this? Or are we deploying it via PDF? Do we need to spin up a landing page for you? Like we're not asking that stuff. They've already kind of provided some of that. And so now we can have that meeting talking about, is this the right stuff? Are there other things that we should be doing? And, get into the kind of the particulars and not discuss the, the weather of the project, if you will.
Yeah. And you're exactly right, Will. Having all the right information at the right time will allow us to execute it more cleanly, right? Awesome. Unfortunately, what happens is that someone will come to me and I say, yeah, fill out the brief, right? And they're like, Rye, the brief is like 3 pages long. And I'm like, yeah, because it has some relevant information, but scan through it, and what's important, then write what you can. And then if you don't know what it is, then we talk about it, right? Absolutely. So then when at the end of the day, the work has to get done. Like somebody has to, right? Somebody has to do it. So either A, we can make a very long discovery meeting and we're filling it out together, and then all of a sudden we've got 5 people on this hour-long meeting, and like half of us don't need to be there. Or
and we're not excited about it. Just getting through it. Or you can, if you're making this request and it's based on an old brochure, and you send me that old brochure, then we can do lots of work ahead of time for that meeting, because you gave me the right information that allows my team to really do its own research and then come for a very productive meeting. That's awesome.
But I mean, human nature is like, well, right, your team has done it last year. Can you just do it again? It's like, I guess so, which we could try. And that's where the roadblocks come in, is that, oh, I forgot to tell you about this. Like, oh, and I didn't tell you there's another resize, and I should have mentioned that there's 4 other iterations of it. Like,
and it's not really what you did last year.
No, then all of a sudden it's not what we did last year.
That's so cool. I really appreciate you taking the time here to share with us. This has been an awesome conversation. My takeaway, and if I'm watching this, like if I've learned nothing else, it's that if I have a project management or ticketing system like a RoboHead, 6-point font, maybe like maybe even like
Yeah,
white ink, just so I can check it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
something, get that unique identifier on the asset so that we never have to dig around.
Mhm.
This has been awesome, Rye. Anything else you want to share before we go? But yeah,
No, no. I think if anything, I think what the RoboHead application has really allowed our team to do is to track things in history, and more importantly, track things from because we're an insurance company, everything is
yeah,
risk and compliance, right? So at the end of the day, that brochure that we put out 6 months ago or 6 years ago, I need to see from a legal point of view, well, who was the one who said, yeah, we authorized these words to. So that's the very boring part of creative operations, but the legal risk and control part is an extremely important part. So it's nice that there's a system that we have that, okay, you can find it there because you can see who approved it and you can see legally why we said what we did, and then we're clean. Because being in insurance, that definitely comes up a lot.
very cool, awesome. Thank you so much, Rye. This has been an awesome conversation, and I'm realizing I say awesome too much, but regardless, this has been a great conversation, and thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next Behind the Process.